Good evening, everybody. I know that, oh man, it's a hot summer. It's a very hot summer. And this is the lowest weather now. It's a very hot summer, church. And we wish that it wasn't as hot, but in another 5 months we're going to wish that it isn't as cold. I like to start some of my sermons with an icebreaker, if you don't mind, church. When I was a little boy, my mother told me a story. Now, my mother wasn't raised in Georgia, but she was raised up here in New Jersey, but she told a story that I believe that she said came out of Georgia. She said it was a man with an old man, with his grandson, a young boy, and an old mule. And they was walking down the street, and they had a 50-pound bag of flour, let's say flour, or cornmeal, or whatever. So the old man was carrying the cornmeal, let's just say cornmeal. And as they walked through town, some of the people said, "What a shame, look at that old man and that old mule and that young boy. The old man is carrying the cornmeal, 50-pound bag. That's a shame. Look like that young boy would carry it." So the next time they came through town, the young boy was carrying it. Then the people said, "Oh my God, what a shame. The old man and the young boy and the old mule. They got that young boy carrying that 50-pound bag of flour. What a shame, what a shame. Shame on them." Then the next time they come through town, the mule was carrying it. And then they said, "What a shame. Look at that young boy with his free hands, the old man with his free hands. They got that flour on that broken down mule. What a shame." I guess my mother was trying to tell me in so many words that no matter what you do, people are going to talk about you. There's always going to be something that they're going to say about you. So don't pay it no mind. This is crazy. Today my text comes from Exodus chapter 34, verse 21. I want to talk about rest. You know, I hadn't had a vacation from January. I figured I would try something to end the year out. So I have 6 weeks, and I said I'm going to take one in January, which is almost like a religious holiday for me. And then I'll take it in July, August, like that, on to the end of the year, the next 5. But I found that I needed rest, and I became very irritable. God says in Exodus chapter 34, verse 21, "No one is to appear before me empty-handed. 6 days shall be labor, but on the 7th day you shall rest. Even during the plowing season and harvest you must rest. Celebrate the feast of weeks with the first fruit of the wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the turn of the year." The Lord was telling us that no matter how many jobs we got or how much bills we have, that we still have to rest. The body needs rest. On this vacation, church, I didn't go anywhere. People said I should go here, there, and everywhere. But what they did not know, that this old body of mine needed rest. It needed I needed rest even away from reading. I normally read an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. I needed rest from that. And I didn't want to take rest from that because I felt I was cheating something. But the Lord got a way of making you rest. Amen. So he made me rest. Now I'm energized and I'm ready to take on what I need to take on. Because God said that you need rest on the seventh day. And today, because we're not in a situation where we actually have control of what our job may be, our 7th day of rest may be on a Tuesday. Our 7th day of rest may be on a Friday. And if you're lucky and you're blessed, it's on a Saturday and Sunday. But not all of us celebrate like that because some of us have to work on Saturday and Sunday. Remember the old corn of Caesar, and Jesus said, turn it over. Render to Caesar what is Caesar. All right. And if I could get people to understand that from a more profound level, I could really, or the Lord could really show us how we can rest on our 7th day. Because it becomes a personal thing now. It becomes a personal thing. So I took on rest because the Lord said that was enough. I'm not going to have you loving anything more than me. Why? Because it says in Exodus chapter 34, verse 14, do not worship any other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. So anything that you put before God, God is jealous of it because he's a jealous God. And that's why a lot of times we are fumbling today. And we are falling down because we want to put things and parallel them or heighten them over the Lord. And we just can't do that. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's. And give to God what is God. You're going to do it one way or the other. So church, we have, I don't want to say tough times ahead, but we have some time to think about things. As we get close to the presidential election, and you remember what the Lord said, render to Caesar what is Caesar. And it would be good if we could live a life without getting on to Caesar's roller coaster or his train tracks. That would be a good life. But unfortunately, that's not how it is. We've got to understand that what is Caesar must be dealt with Caesar. So if someone comes to you and asks you to borrow some money, and if you can afford to loan it to them, what I've learned from extensive reading of even rich people, they sign a contract even with their kids to pay the money back. Because again, render to Caesar what is Caesar, and let's remove emotion from things. Because we're very emotional people. So, you have to understand that God is in control. But you have to understand the harvest in which that he's giving you. That even though it may be abundant, there's going to still be time when you got to plow. There's going to still be time when you got to plant. And there's definitely going to be time when you got to rest. See? So, we got to understand that rest is a part of being in the house of the Lord. Because if you rest well, you can pray better. If that makes any sense. I want to talk about the Sabbath regulations. Go to, if you can with me, go to Exodus chapter 35, verse 1, where it says, Moses assembled the whole Israelite community and said to them, these are the things the Lord has commanded you to do. For 6 days, work is to be done, but the seventh day shall be your day, your holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it must be put to death. Do not light a fire in any of your dwellings or on the Sabbath day. As I explained to you, that the Sabbath day is a day of rest, a day of atonement. But because of Caesar, a lot of times our Sabbath day will not be the regular Sunday, where some still celebrate it on Saturday, because they're able to rest, and that's how they got their function thing. So some people's Sabbath day may be Monday. But as long as you remember to take a day to rest thy body, that God will be working with you hand in hand. I was so happy that the Lord showed me on this vacation that I had to rest. And I rest not only for me, but I rest in the name of the Lord. So there's certain channels and gears, as I have preached before about when I learned how to fix the 10-speed bike years ago, 1975, when I couldn't afford one. But I learned how to fix the bikes. So that same year I wound up owning more 10-speed bikes than my mother could ever imagine. And 10 bikes in the house, because I learned how to fix it. So we got to learn how to shift the gears, because the devil is working right there with Caesar, and he got us off course. That's why a lot of people, church, that is a part of the group that come out of ancient Egypt, like black folk, that's why today, even though they have abundance of wealth, right, they act foolishly on the world stage for the world to see them. And that's because they're not taking the time to rest and get regenerated by the power of God. Where is their Sabbath day? Church, since this is a political time, and I'm not going to speak long today, and a lot that's on the table, a whole lot that's on the table, I want to talk about pro-choice. Now, if you ask me, I don't even know what pro-choice is. But what I do know, what is right from wrong. I don't even know what pro-choice is, church. But I do know what is sanitary and what is safe. Where am I going? People ask me, they say, I met some people in Plainfield years ago, Plainfield, New Jersey, that was on Park Avenue, and I have a video of it somewhere on YouTube. And they were talking about abortion, that there shouldn't be no abortion. I agreed along with them. So the political community would say, Zechariah, you're not pro-choice. Yes, I am. Well, how could you agree? Well, abortion I don't believe is a right thing. I don't believe it. But now they say, well, if you were in Congress, so if you had to vote, would you vote for a person to have a choice? Yes, I will. People say, why? I'll tell you why. Because if it's not legalized, it would be different if it wasn't legalized and no one would do it. See, if it wasn't legalized, people say, no, that's it. Ain't gonna do it. Red light. And that's it. But even though if it's not legalized, people are still going to do it. So then they will do it unsanitarily, meaning that they may go to a garage and do it. They may use an apparatus like a hanger and things of that nature to do it. Now, you say, oh, Zechariah, you talking, this is what all you got to do in America. I don't know about any other country because I wasn't raised in any other country. All you got to do is go to the library and look it up. Look up the methods that people use to eliminate a pregnancy before it became legalized. Okay, look at those methods. So now, what are we doing here, Zach? Well, the coin that Jesus said, whose face on it? Caesar. Turn it over, whose face on it? Caesar. Render to Caesar what is Caesar. All right. And you say, well, how can this be Caesar? Oh, well, it's closer to Caesar than it would be to God. It's your choice. You have to deal with that. Right? So I will support to have it legalized and have a person to make a choice to not to have it legalized and have a person to make an illegal choice that will jeopardize themselves and jeopardize their family and actually jeopardize their health. So we have to understand that that's what we're dealing with today. We have to say, well, today, and that goes with rest. I'm going to tie it in with rest. It goes, we can't fight every battle. Years ago, I had a lot of Ivy League friends. They used to say you have to pick and choose your battles. I didn't understand what they were talking about. You mean pick and choose your battle? And I thought about it. I said, oh, okay, I see that. I see that, see? So we have to pick and choose our battles. Now, I'm not going to battle with a person that ultimately it falls back on them. But I will battle with a person that's trying to put something on innocent people, right, that necessarily would not fall on them. You understand me, church? Is that rest? Talk to me about rest on that. Is that 7th day? I think it is. It's that 7th day because I could be fighting them on something that ultimately going to hurt them or helping someone that want to go a good way. I could be fighting with someone, okay, about gambling, let's just say. I could be fighting with them about gambling, or I could be talking to someone that's interested in learning how to save money. That's that 7th day, that rest. I could be fighting with a person that know good and well they can't afford this car or that car, or work with somebody to learn how to buy a car of comfort that they can afford as they growing and developing and building their family. Amen? Okay. So, you got to pick and choose your 7th day. I was in a restaurant last week and a guy came in and he said he spent $1,000 to see a fight. Boxing match. And he said that he don't want to sit at no bleachers or this, that, and the other. Much as I like or love the great Muhammad Ali, much as I love him, and I've loved him since I was 9 years old, much as I loved him, I because I don't come from a great deal of money, will not spend $1,000 to see him if he was living and fighting today. Love him to death. And met him one time. He know that. You understand? He know that. But I wouldn't spend that. But I'm not going to argue with somebody that can do it when I can talk to somebody that can't do it and not aspiring to spend that is trying to learn how to save that $1,000 and look at it on YouTube. Come on now. That's that seventh day. Convince a fool against his will. He may be the same opinion still. So we're looking for 7 days on that 7th day of rest. How do we get it? How do we achieve? Do we achieve it exactly as Moses achieved it? Is the Bible written for us to do it exactly like they did it? Because during the Bible time, there was not roads going up to Mount Sinai. There might not even, if you're climbing Mount Sinai, there might not even be a rope that goes up the way they got ropes today. They got climbing boots today and this, things. They got ties and all kinds of straps and whatever, and water bottles that can hold water or whatever, heat bottles and lights on your head that they didn't have during Moses' time, when Moses faced the Lord and the radiance that was on him. But is the scriptures relevant? Yes. They are relevant, and they are to show us how to rest. Let's talk about rest. Rest is a lot of things. Rest is researching and study. Because if you research and study enough, right, then you'll know how to hover over ground. Well, a lot of times I'm in conversation with people now that I'm learning how to maneuver with the wisdom that God has given me through research and study. I don't always answer the question. Or I don't always fill in, because they need their rest. And sometimes their rest may be not knowing something. You follow me? My rest may be knowing it and not approaching to bring it on them. You see, there's different gears. Again, that 10 speed. I think that's why the Lord put that 10 speed in my life in 1975. So I can understand those gears. I can understand working into the gears of life certain things that you may want to be helpful on that you can't. Okay. Talking to a friend earlier today about chivalry. I'll end with this here. I said, coming from New Jersey, coming from Black Central Ward, Newark, New Jersey, do you know it was a curse? I thought it a curse if I seen a woman carrying bags and struggling with it. It was a curse for me not to help her. Do you know, coming up in Newark, New Jersey, it was a curse to jump on an elevator before a woman. Hold the door. Right? As a young man, I learned it from older men. You hold the door. Right? Escalator. You move to the side, let it go. Anytime you've seen a woman struggle, it was a curse. A friend of mine said, she said that the men changed it. I said, no, the men did not get rid of chivalry. It was the women that got rid of it. No, we didn't. I said, oh, yes, you did. I'll tell you how. Church, many times, I'd come along and I would see a woman's car broke down on a speeding highway. And I remember pulling over, right? Trying to, help. Came there with my tools. My jack cars coming past me 100 miles per hour. Now I could see a woman being uncomfortable, but some women I would try to help, they had people with them, and they still was uncomfortable. As I changed the tire, they were uncomfortable all the way. Well, how many times are you going to keep trying to change somebody's tire on a speeding highway and they're uncomfortable, looking at you like you're going to rob them, and you look just like their son? Come on now. Or their brother, or their boyfriend or their husband, look just like them. And you are in the mode of helping. There's many times I remember seeing a woman struggling on the bus, and I would grab her bag or whatever and help her. And the uncomfortableness that you get from it, that I remember helping a woman on the bus one day with a bag bigger than me. And boy, oh boy, I regret helping her, because she talked from the stop all the way to the stop that we always getting off on, how heavy that bag was. That bag was too heavy for me. And I'm looking at this woman that looked like she weighs 105 pounds. At that time, I was 210 solid with nothing but muscle. And I'm saying to myself, if the bag is heavy for me, then God knows it must be a freight train to you. Then after a while, after such resistance on things, oh, miss, you can go on the escalator first. No, you go. Miss, you can go on the elevator first. No, you go. Miss, you can have my seat on the bus. Oh, no, I have strong legs. My legs are strong, and I like to stand. Well, if you keep getting that, right, then after a while you say, well, listen, there's no more for me to do. Do you know today, even though I'm a man of God, that I could walk past a woman that's struggling and walk right by it like it don't even bother me? Like if I'm having a chicken wing, and I love chicken with hot sauce, Frank Red Hot. It don't bother me at all. But it took some time to get to that level. I did not want to go to that level because my rest was helping her. I felt proud, not that I was trying to get a date, but I felt proud that I was able to help this woman or that woman. But then only to be beat down, slaughtered, and sometimes even called the police on me. And I'm trying to help. I was shoveling a woman's snow one day, and she called the police on me. Police said, well, what is going on? I said, oh, I don't know. I'm just helping a woman shovel snow. And the police said, the guy's just helping you shovel snow. At that moment then, I learned something. Let's go back to Moses. After Moses slew the 2 Egyptians, right? And he found out the next thing is this thing was known, right? Moses knew he had to get out of there. Well, I knew then that I had to get out of there. I had to change my thinking. And that was hard. You understand? When you had a mama that counted on you and your strength. I don't think my mother ever lifted over 5 pounds. She said, we're going to lift it, don't worry. The boys did it. We did it. I don't think my mother ever, or my sisters never had to lift nothing heavy because my mother had the boys. And she called on it that way. But what did I learn along the way? I said, you know what? I can't do this because even to helping these people, I was not getting my day of rest. Why? Because on that Sabbath day, whatever it may be, I'm still thinking of the help that I tried to apply with my people, the sisters resisted the help, and I'm traveling through that in my mind. So I wasn't resting. But I learned something, that sometimes you have to change. You have to change your position. My position has changed now. But whenever I hear a woman flare up and talk about this, that, and the other, what men don't do, I remind them of how you push that. You signed that bill. You signed that bill so you won't have that rest day. You signed it. I'll leave you with this. 20 years ago, I met a friend and we were talking. And she was talking about that same thing, how men are no good, and this kind of thing. She said when she went into labor, she jumped on the bus and took the bus to the hospital because no man would help her. And I had to stand up then and I had to say, well, you know what, sister? I know guys that's out there in the street that's selling drugs or doing whatever. Had they known that you, and they know they're wrong what they're doing, was going into labor, they would stop what they're doing and get you to the hospital some kind of way. Don't use drama, right, to try to get your point across when you have been the chief orchestrator behind, right, the absentee of help. Don't use that, because God don't want you to use that. Again, render to Caesar what is Caesar. And I say to everybody, as I said to the sister today, you look for your Sabbath day to rest. Part of your rest is going to be how you navigate yourself throughout this world today. That's going to be part of your rest. That was the word of God that I want to give to you today. May Jesus be with you, and may God continue to bless you. And as he bless you, may he continue to lift me up to preach the word from the church of what's happening now. I pray for a better day for all of us. God bless you. God bless you. Good night.